For those that are in the process of still defining their ideal customer profile and defining what their go-to-market strategy is, what would your typical recommendation be for having a kind of symbiotic relationship between product and GTM, and how do you bring them together so that you can accelerate and optimize that product market fit?
We often talk about these things as separate concepts, like your go-to-market motion or go-to-market strategy and your product strategy. And one of the biggest issues I see with companies, it's easier when you're smaller, much harder when you're larger, is that these things become not necessarily at odds, but they aren't planned and discussed as a group. And so a few tactical things that I've seen work well are have your product team sit down with your sales and CS team on some recurring basis and just go through what the customers are saying, both good and bad. Often the product team just hears all the bad stuff. It's good to hear what is working well, because then you can double down on that. And it often helps with how you position the product from a product marketing perspective. So I think just having a recurring time to sit down and go through actual voice of customer, whether that's like a clip of a customer or just going through verbatim comments that the customers have made and understanding the themes and biggest opportunities. And then I think conversely on the product side, when you're defining a feature, usually it's here's the things it must do, here's how we're going to solve those problems, but doing the go-to-market stuff up front. So writing the press release or blog post with your product team and with the sales and CS team of this is how we want to describe what we're about to embark on as a product team. And do that before you write a single line of code. I think if that forces everyone to think like a go-to-market person, like who is this for? What are the key value props that we're trying to position? How is it differentiated from their other products? What are those other products that they're comparing? And if you get all the counterparts in a room, this can be quite a powerful way to align everyone and talk about it.
The way you describe that, it almost seems obvious that you bring those two together. From your experiences, is that not common that you see? Yeah.
I think great companies like do this regularly, but it's very normal to fall in the trap of the product team builds the product, the go-to-market team tells the world about it and sells it and supports the customer.
Almost in two parallels.
Exactly. While that sounds silly, it's just very natural in your day-to-day to lose sight of this. And so I think usually it comes down to the leaders in that org figuring out these ways to get everyone to just talk to one another. But often when you're in the ideation phase of product development, making sure that go-to-market is heard, and when go-to-market is planning out a quarter or the next 6 months, what does the product team need to do to support them and serve their customer? And who is that customer, and do we all agree on that? Because often the product team will be talking to an end user at an existing customer that you're serving well, but the go-to-market team is now pushing the horizon of the product, and they're going after a new market or a new region, or they're moving up market, and the requirements are shifting slightly. And so making sure that everyone's aware that is occurring, and that two, the go-to-market team is aware of what deficiencies the product has that's holding them back, and the product team acknowledges those and makes a decision about whether or not which of those they're going to address in a way that allows them to continue to scale and deliver a product that works.
How often would you recommend those teams collaborating and having those tactical or strategy sessions?
I think there should be collaboration happening every day, like not necessarily sitting down as a big group in a meeting, but there are little ways of, this was an interesting moment on a customer call, just having a mechanism to share that. Or if the product team has an idea and they want to validate it, having a mechanism or a way for them to reach out to go to market and ask for their opinion, or just say, hey, over the next few weeks on all of your calls, if you could ask this one question and let me know what the customer has said, that'd be really powerful. So you actually bring them into like the research process and ideation phase of product development. But in terms of sitting down and defining strategy, certainly quarterly, to ask, are we still aligned? Are we marching in the same direction? Do we still have the same vision of where we want to be in 6, 12 months? Or has something changed? Has the market shifted? Have customers started to say something different about our product? Has a competitor popped up in a region that the product team isn't aware of? And just question, like, do we still believe this is the path that we should be going down from a product perspective, from a go-to-market perspective? At least once a quarter. I think if you're smaller, you should definitely do it once a month, because the ship tends to be a bit easier to steer and you should be steering it more quickly. At a bigger company, if you have thousands of employees.
Yeah.
Trying to change the direction of the ship every month can be quite jarring.
Yeah.
And so you probably want to do it once a quarter and do a much more rigorous process to make sure you're aligned and avoid unnecessary shifts in the strategy.